More Southeast Asian countries are opening for tourism this winter. In this video, we're going to discuss the current COVID situation and entry requirements of 5 Southeast Asian countries. I know that many of you have been sitting on your hands for the past 18 months, wondering if and when Southeast Asia will open its borders to international tourists again. The good news is that this moment has arrived. While the entry requirements are not as easy, as relaxed as many of us have wished, it is a starting point. It is a starting point for people that have really been waiting for a long time to go back to Southeast Asia, to spend the winter in the tropics, spend time with their girlfriends, their wives, their families. The first Southeast Asian country that I want to talk about in this video is Cambodia. Cambodia has scheduled to reopen 2 designated areas by the end of November. Sihanoukville and Koh Kong on the Gulf of Thailand are the first 2 areas that Cambodia will open to international tourists this winter. Who can get in? Well, right now only fully vaccinated tourists that are on the list of countries that Cambodia considers as COVID-free are allowed to enter when the country reopens at the end of November. Before you can enjoy the whole spectrum of beauty that Cambodia has to offer, you have to spend 5 days in one of the 2 mentioned areas. You cannot leave the 2 designated areas before the 5 days are up. Once the 5 days are up, you are free to go wherever you want in the country. Many people are grateful that Cambodia has reached its vaccination target of 70%. And as of now, Cambodia has fully vaccinated 78% of its population. It is among the countries with the highest vaccination rates in Southeast Asia. Vietnam is a country that definitely had problems over the past 18 months, not only when it comes to lockdowns, but also when it comes to vaccinating its population. As of today, only 25% of Vietnam's population has been fully vaccinated. No doubt that this is the reason why the country is delaying its reopening plans this winter. All is not lost yet. Vietnam is still planning to open the island of Phu Quoc by the end of the year, if and when the majority of the locals have been vaccinated. Now, Vietnam's vaccination efforts have really been focused on the main cities, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Da Nang, and also Nha Trang. Other areas with high vaccination rates include Halong Bay, Hoi An, Dalat, and Nha Trang. And the country is really planning to opening up these 4 tourist destinations by the end of December. But at this point in time, it really all depends on whether the country can obtain enough vaccinations to vaccinate the majority of the population to open these areas up in a safe manner. Thailand has just ended mandatory quarantine for arrivals from over 60 countries. In the hope to boost its economy, Thailand has now opened up the majority of all tourist destinations in the country, including Bangkok, Pattaya, Chiang Mai, Surat Thani, Phuket, and Koh Samui. Over 40 million people visited Thailand in 2019. And going forward in the year of 2022, the Thai government aims to attract at least 10 to 15 million people to the country. It is not an unreasonable goal at all, but it still depends a lot on the current entry requirements, because if there are countries with more relaxed entry requirements, guess what? A lot of people will prefer going to countries where they don't need to quarantine, even if it's just for a day, and maybe they don't need to do a PCR and antigen test on arrival in a different country. And those are the things that are still required at this point in time in Thailand. Another top digital nomad and expat destination is Bali, Indonesia. The Indonesian government has put a lot of its effort on vaccinating people from Bali. As of today, 82% of Bali's population is fully vaccinated. Despite of it being a relatively small island, Bali generated a total of 6 million visitors in 2019. And the government aims to attract at least 50% of this number in the coming year. One of the downsides, the big downsides of entering Bali, Indonesia during this new opening phase is that a lot of entry restrictions apply, including being vaccinated with one of the approved vaccinations, providing a negative PCR test prior to boarding the plane, undergoing further tests on arrival and spending a few days in a government-approved quarantine hotel. Those of you looking to travel, spend some quality time on the island of Bali, Indonesia this winter in the coming year, it is really important that you are aware of the extra costs that you have to bear if and when you decide to go on vacation to Bali. To be brutally honest, no traveler wants to spend a single day in quarantine. It's not just about the money, it's also about the lack of comfort and the anxiety it creates. However, if you snapped the business visa, you got a year in Bali, Indonesia, you can maybe justify spending a couple days in a quarantine hotel. It's definitely not what you want, but spending more time in Bali probably justifies it more than if you should just go on a very brief vacation. One of the countries that hasn't really announced its reopening plans yet is the Philippines. As of right now, only citizens, long-term pass holders, and residents are allowed to enter the Philippines. There is a lot of speculation going on that the Philippines may open its border a few days before the election this coming year. The whole psychology behind is that the daughter's president is running for president in the upcoming election. So people are speculating that Duterte is holding back with reopening the country until just maybe a few weeks before the election so he can claim a massive victory for his daughter. This is one out of many theories, and there is a possibility that the Philippines will indeed open up its borders before May 2022. And I've received an endless amount of comments from expats living abroad really dying to get back to the Philippines to spend time with their girlfriends and wives. This is a horrible situation to be in because it is close to impossible to get a long-term visa for the Philippines right now. Those of you who are not fortunate enough to have obtained a long-term visa for the Philippines prior to the start of the pandemic have to be patient for a little bit longer until the Philippines relaxes its visa policy, opens its borders to international tourists so you can enter the country again and have a great time in a tropical paradise. Which of the discussed 4 destinations would you prefer to visit this winter? Are you vacationing in Southeast Asia already? If so, what is it like during the pandemic? Leave a comment below and let us know. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm uploading several videos on digital nomad locations, visa and travel updates every week. I got 2 recommendations for you. Recommendation number 1, I shot a video on the best countries where you can live on as little as $1,000 a month. If you want to watch this video, click on the link right here. 2, I shot another video on countries without entry restrictions. If you want to watch this video, click on the link right here. Thank you for watching.